actually learned this from my one percenter friend. So we were shopping for a vehicle. So a two-pronged approach here. Me and my wife share our vehicle. We have an SUV. She had an eye on an SUV that wasn't even in my demographic of price range. Wasn't even on my list of cars that I was going to look at. I was like, we can't afford that. I think we can't afford anything, by the way. Large coffee, we can't afford that. So that's my response to everything. But he was like, hey man, have you heard of certified pre-owned? I had never heard of it because I don't be on that 1% stuff. So that being said, we were able to find a vehicle that we both enjoy at a price I enjoy, and now we share the vehicle. So basically, effectively, a half price vehicle, and it's used, certified pre-owned, and we were able to get it down to that price point that we wanted.
That's great.
Folks, it can be done strategically.
Absolutely.
We talked a little bit about. I honestly admire anyone at this point who can, I would say, thrive on one income. I think we're all surviving. I mean, in that we are here now and you are hearing my voice, but there's very few I feel that are thriving. You talked a little bit about side hustles and passive income. I'll transition here. What are some ways, I'll start with for you, how to earn more money? And for you, that has been blogging. You want to tell people a little bit about your blog and how that's been bringing in income for you?
Absolutely. So when I started my food blog 11 years ago, deliciedelights.com, it was very much a hobby. I didn't actually realize this was something that people could monetize. And it wasn't until I was laid off about 6 months after starting the blog that I started to really go down the rabbit hole of online monetization. And I learned about things like affiliate marketing and display ads and influencer marketing. And I've been able to grow the blog now to a 6-figure income stream. So the majority of my income comes from display ads. My website reaches about 4 million readers per year, but I also monetize using affiliate marketing, and I do some brand sponsored deals as well on the blog. So I think it's a really good example of these lesser known forms of passive income that we can create with content. You know, when I think a lot of people hear the term passive income, they automatically think of the stock market and something like dividends or capital gains. And the internet has actually given folks who have a passion for content creation avenues to create income streams. And that's something that I am passionate about and something that I teach my own listeners and followers of the show.
So I'll hit two things there through the magic of audio magic of editing. Y'all will see on the screen here a tweet from April 1st from Janice. I made $13,740 in passive income this month through blog ads. I'm actually going to come back to that too. I used to have to work 275 hours as a senior level engineer to earn that much. So it can be done. I think a lot of people naturally, and honestly, a lot of people, me, present company included, when I was reading it, you were saying, someone was like, oh, is that Google ads? And you were like, hell no. You had some things to say about Google that I'm not going to say because I'm sure they're listening to this conversation and they might be a future sponsor. But can you talk about the ads that you actually do use that are not Google?
Yeah, absolutely. So Google AdSense is definitely the most common thing that people think of when they're talking about display ads. But once you get to a certain threshold, you can apply to higher tier ad providers. And so usually you want to be in the realm of like 10,000 page views per month before you can start applying to these higher tiered ad providers. My ad provider requires 100,000 page views per month. And so with that being said, that's when you start getting to like being able to earn full-time income as a blogger.
How long did it take you to get there? There'll be a reason I'm asking that question. But
sure.
What was the upswing?
Yeah, so I'll be completely honest. I did not make any money for the first couple of years as a blogger because a lot of it was kind of just trial and error and figuring out how you actually create content that gets picked up by the search algorithms. So once I honed in on my niche, which is Latin food, I started to see progress. And I think it was the first sign that I got from like, you know, the importance of a niche. When you have a business, it's important to kind of differentiate yourself and pick a lane, if you will. So once I had that figured out, it was pretty progressive as far as monetization goes. So I started my food blog in 2013. 2017 was the first year that I made an extra $10,000 in revenue from the blog. And then from there, it grew. The following years, it was $25,000. The year after that, it was $50,000. And by 2021, I was making over $100,000 a year. And it's been that way ever since then. So it definitely took some progress to get there. But I think like anything that you're building, it takes time, whether we're talking about an investment portfolio or a business or an income stream. It's going to take time to figure out that secret sauce. And then once you do, you just got to double down on it.
And for the people interested at home, I believe you also have a blog course. Do you want to plug that and where they can find that?
Absolutely. So the course is called the Jumpstart Your Blog Bootcamp, and you can go to yoquierodineropodcast.com/blog bootcamp to learn more.
And I'll plug here just so folks can kind of think about the side hustle streams. And I guess I also have a question. So you can find somewhere on my channel, wherever the hell you found this video. So now I'm making $1,000 a month through Instagram. They're just paying me directly. They started a creator program about 16 months ago. Fascinatingly enough, no one cared when I was making $100 a month. Like, I was like, hey guys, there's this cool program. They're like, $100, you're wasting your time. Now $1,000, like, but everyone wants to jump to the finish line. Mm-hmm. So kind of keep in mind that it took me 16 months to get here, and then it's exponential. At least that's been my lived experience. And then back also when I did blog, did you kind of have an 80-20? Like for me, YouTube, Instagram, blog, there's like something takes off. Then people are like, oh, you've been doing this for 10 years? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Was that your experience or?
Yeah, that's absolutely been the experience with the blog for one. It was one of those things that I didn't realize people actually wanted to learn. And so I was hesitant to put out a course about it until I started sharing my own financial progress with the blog. And people were like, well, how the heck are you doing this? You're earning more than like most people earn in a regular 9-to-5 day job. And it looks like you're having way more fun. So it was definitely that the case for that for the blog. And it's funny because both my blog and my personal finance podcast have the pandemic to thank for exponential growth as well. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because one, people were doing a lot more cooking at home. And so 2020 saw my blog income reach, I want to say it was like $85,000 that year. And that was the first sign for me that I'm like, oh, this is like a real income. Like I really probably don't even need to be doing this corporate job anymore. And it was the same case with my podcast. I started it in 2019 and 2020. Obviously, we had people getting laid off in mass and trying to figure out how to navigate the stock market and everything that was going on in the world financially. And so my listenership jumped dramatically and I was able to start monetizing that as well. So I think it was a good combination of divine timing, but also understanding that there was a void that needed to be filled. And I've been able to do that with the content that I have.
Luck is where preparation meets opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good transition to you tell the folks about Yo Quiero Dinero, the podcast.
Absolutely. So we are an award-winning podcast, the #1 podcast for Latinas and personal finance. And on the show, I introduce you to what I call regular schmegular people who are primarily from communities of color who are doing extraordinary things, whether that is starting businesses, investing, reaching financial independence, becoming debt-free, paying off 6 figures of debt, etc. Because one of the things that I have found very motivating in my own financial journey is seeing other people doing things that come from my community that I can relate to. I think that's been the biggest issue for the personal finance sphere in general, is just feeling like conversations that are being had in rooms that you're not privy to feel like they're not for you. And so I like to create a community on my show where you can learn from people, not just myself, but a ton of different people about how you can also build wealth as a first gen kid, as somebody who never learned anything about money, someone who's the first, to graduate from college or get that first corporate paycheck. We want to set you up for success so you don't have to struggle like past generations have.
One of those, or two of those, is brand deals and sponsorships. I guess my question is how to get started there. And as you inform that question, can you kind of talk a little bit? I think people are hearing, 4 million views on your website, 10,000 followers. That might intimidate a person even from getting started. So Can you kind of weave that into your response?
Yeah. So I think people have this perception that followers equals dollars. And I promise you, there are creators out there with 1 million+ followers on social media who are not making a single dollar. So it really is more about your level of proactiveness, if you will, to finding those opportunities. One thing that creators of all sizes can pursue is influencer marketing networks. So you can think about these like job boards, and you apply, You set up your profile, you link all of your relevant social media accounts, and you can pitch yourself to brands right through these networks. That's how I've been able to generate tens of thousands of dollars in brand deals as a blogger. And it's also how I find opportunities now as an Instagram influencer and a podcaster. So you don't have to have a specific number of followers. And actually, nowadays, I think brands are becoming more and more cognizant of how influential micro creators can be. Those folks who have less than 50,000 followers tend to have more engaged audiences and deeper relationships with their followers. And they actually convert much better than people who have millions of followers. So do not discount yourself just because you don't have that, magical 10K.
And for those influencer, I had to write it down, marketing networks, do you have any favorites that you go to or would recommend for folks?
So there are a lot of different ones depending on what your niche is. One of the ones that I've worked with a lot in multiple niches now is one called Massive Sway. But if you do a quick Google search and you just search influencer marketing networks, you will get a plethora of options.
In a future video, drop a comment and hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're watching this show or listening. Thanks for coming on the show, Janice. Please tell the viewers where they can learn more about your upcoming book.
Absolutely. So you can get your copy at financiallylitbook.com. I have the hard copy as well as the audiobook version. And I'm also going to be going on a book tour. So you can find out if I'm going to be stopping at a city near you at financiallylitbook.com.